who is the most beneficent and the most merciful, whose bounties are unbounded, whose blessings are uncountable, whose being is eternal, whose mercy is unlimited, whose provisions are unending, whose love is our life, and whose worship is our faith.
Hello, how are you doing?
I don't think so that they are fine. They are getting bored.
Yes, just right thing to
So let's cheer them up.
I used to think that book review is mystery, but then I got to know that students have made history.
All groups are competing today and attendance is mandatory.
But this is fact that this competition enhances our skills.
Practicing hard, we kill the headache with pills.
No matter what, we will plan it because we are hardworking and we are learners.
And inshallah, the group that will win is the
French
French Run! Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank my Almighty Allah for my unconquerable soul. Assalamu alaikum, this is Javed Ranjani.
And the fellow pledge of circumference, I've not winded nor cried aloud. Under the blurtings of chance, my head is bloody, but unbowed. Ni hao, this is Hafsa Siddiq.
Beyond this place of death and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. Bonjour everyone, this is Kiswa Jan.
It made us laugh, how scared the cat, how jarred with punishment the scroll. Namaste, this is Nitesh Mulwani.
I am the chair of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. Hola, this is Sayyida Kanis Fatma.
Considered a masterpiece in world literature, Pride and Prejudice is equally appreciated by its journal public. It was first published in 1813, but the concept we see today was not the first edition. Jane Austen wrote its manuscript in the age of 21 under the title of First Impression. It's been 200 years since the book was published, and now it has sold more than 200 million copies and is translated in other languages like French, Swedish, and German. Thus, this novel is one of the highlighting works of Jane Austen.
Next is the author. Jane Austen was considered as one of the most important novelists of 18th century. She was born on 16th December 1775 at Swinton. Her father, George Austen, served as the preacher of rural community, and she was mostly attached with her older sister, Cassandra. Jane is acutely concise of human feelings, and through her novels, she wanted to make people less selfish and more reasonable. Her work mostly on marriage and courtship. Her work include Sense and Sensibility, Pride and Prejudice, Emma, Northanger Abbey, Persuasion, and so on. She devised on 18th July 1817.
Let's talk about the genre of this novel. Novel of manners and romance. Novel of manners is a work that recreates a social world, that conveys the observations of customs, values, and more of a highly developed and concept society. While romance genre is very old, in this type of genre fiction, they places the primary focus on the relationship and romantic love between two people, and it must have an emotionally satisfying and optimistic ending.
The novel has always been appreciated by everyone and other writers too. Different adaptations have been used for Pride and Prejudice, like the book Austenland, in which Mr. Darcy's character has been revised for the obsession of love. And next is Pride, in which they describe the consequences of pride through a girl's character named Zuri, and other is Eligible. That is modern retelling of Pride and Prejudice, in which characters and story have been retold in a comic way.
Talking about the themes, the first theme that comes in our mind is about the love. The novel Pride and Prejudice contains one of the most cherished love stories of the English literature. the courtship between Darcy and Elizabeth. And in any good love story, the lovers must surpass the issues between them created by the lovers' own personal qualities.
This novel depicts a society in which women's reputation is the utmost of the importance. A woman is expected to behave in certain ways. This theme appears in the novel when Elizabeth walks to Netherfield and arrives with muddy skirt and gets criticized by Miss Bingley.
So the third theme is social status. This theme reflects the nature of life of upper class and the middle class of England Regency. The class was strictly drawn, while Mr. Bennet's, who were belonging to the middle class, tried to socialize with the upper class. There was clearly their social inferiority, and they are treated as such.
There are many characters in this novel, and one person is connected with multiple people. The first connection that we are going to discuss is between Lydia and Wickham. Wickham is a handsome, fortune-hunting military officer who can marry any wealthy woman with a wealthy fortune, whereas Lydia is a gossipy, immature, self-involved girl. They both have selfish motives. The suspense of their elopement was finally over when they got married.
There are two more characters, Mr. William Collins and Charlotte Lucas. Collins and Charlotte relationship throughout Pride and Prejudice wasn't romantic like many of the others in the novel, but merely a comfortable living agreement. Charlotte on one side is a middle class girl, and Collins inherits Mr. Bennet's property. So Charlotte admits to not loving Collins in a romantic way, but she tells that she just wanted a comfortable future.
Moving ahead, the other characters of the novel are Mr. and Mrs. Bennet. Mrs. Bennet is quite a light-hearted woman. She has no concern for the moral or intellectual education of her daughters. While, on the other hand, Mr. Bennet is a man with a good sense of humor and patience. The sole ambition of Mrs. Bennet is to get all of her 5 daughters married. We cannot say that she has a negative character because being a mother, everyone wishes to get all her daughters happily married.
Coming to two most interesting characters of the novel, Fitzwilliam Darcy and Elizabeth Bennet. They both are the protagonists of the story. The title, Pride and Prejudice, reflects their nature, where Mr. Darcy's pride makes him lose his image in Elizabeth's eyes, and likewise, Elizabeth's prejudice and preconceived opinions misleads her in understanding the real nature of Darcy. Eventually, their sweet and sour relationship ends further in the novel's cap.
Last but not the least, Jane Bennet and Mr. Charles Bingley. Jane is the eldest and beautiful Bennet's sister, while Mr. Charles Bingley is Mr. Darcy's wealthy best friend. They both met at the ball in Meryton and enjoyed an immediate mutual attraction. They both are lovely, friendly, and cheerful. Jane and Bingley exhibit to reader true love, either by pride or prejudice. On one hand, Jane is gentle and reserved, while Mr. Darcy is blissfully and caring about the class difference. At the end, they both get married.
Get ready, boy.
The novel revolves around a family of 5 Bennet sisters who are unmarried because of their parents' dismay. Jane and Elizabeth are elder Bennet sisters who met Mr. Darcy and Mr. Bingley at Meryton Ball. The story gets its romantic phase when Mr. Bingley shows affection towards Miss Jane. But on the other hand, Mr. Darcy hides his feeling towards Miss Elizabeth because of his pride. But with the passage of time, Mr. Darcy finds greater and greater interest in Elizabeth. In the end, 3 Bennet sisters are married. Miss Jane is married to Bingley, Elizabeth is married to Mr. Darcy, and Lydia is married to Wickham.
Symbolism is an art of using objects and symbols to share the ideas. However, Pride and Prejudice is remarkably from explicit symbolism, which has something to do with the novel's reliance on dialogues or description. The first symbol is Pemberley State, which sits at the center of the novel, which is a geographic symbol of wealth and property. The next is letters. You may have noticed that the novel is relied on dialogues or description. You may do not get to know about characters' deep thoughts. These letters make us know them. And the third is ball, which is a symbol of characters, community bonds, and connections.
Talking about the references from book, Jane Austen novels are always been appreciated in English literature because of how incredibly she describes the dialogues between the characters. For instance, everyone knows that a man with a good income who is not yet married must need a wife. These are the opening lines of the
On line number 25, page number 9, this is written, happiness after marriage is a matter of chance. Which means in the context that although marriage means a connection from soul to soul, but in the history, the case was totally different. Marriage at that time was meant to be financial security. Related to this, there's a saying of Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a woman may be married for 4 reasons: for her property, for her beauty, for her rank, or for her religion. So marry the one who's religiously committed. This saying encourages us to marry the life partner who is religiously committed rather than anything else.
Life is not important except the impact it has on our life. So Pride and Prejudice has also some impact on our life. The first one is, first impression can be misleading, or we can say that, don't judge a book by its cover. Jane Austen's half of the novel is an accumulation of false impressions, particularly Elizabeth Bennet make prejudices and assumptions about William Darcy before she gets to know him. But then she meets reality and changes her perspective. So it's better to lower down our pride to enjoy, and we shouldn't make prejudices and assumptions on the basis of people, how they look, before we should get to know them.
The other impact is pride. Pride is one of those sins which Allah Almighty detests and everyone must deal with it. Humans don't respond well to being put down their pride, and Mr. Darcy, in the beginning of the novel, didn't put down his pride and hide his feelings. But with the passage of time, he overcomes his pride and finally shows his feelings towards Miss Elizabeth. This shows that as pride is to relationships, as cyanide is to health.
Another impact is money is not everything in marriage. For the majority of human history has a matter, and it's a thankful fact that choice to provide comfort but not happiness. For instance, Charlotte tied a knot with Colin's for a comfortable future. But however, she was not emotionally attached with him, so marriage should always be more than money.
In the end, any book review is not complete until you don't give your views on it. We have noticed a lot of interesting facts in Jane Austen's masterpiece. Like, the first is, Jane Austen has put some of herself in the character of Elizabeth Bennet. Like, Austen had big and close family. She was close with her elder sister Cassandra and her father, and she loved to read. Same was the case with Elizabeth Bennet. She was close with her father, her elder sister Jane, and she loved to read too. It's an interesting analysis that when a writer puts some of themselves and personifies them in one character, which gives the reader a chance to know more about the writer.
Another interesting fact is the concept of love marriage versus the concept of marriage for comfort. The fact that we have liked about Jane literacy is that how excellently she has used the irony between the love marriage and the marriage for comfort. Through her character Darcy and Elizabeth, she has shown the marriage for love. On the other hand, she used the character of Mr. Collins and Charlotte to show the marriage for comfort.
Women of 19th century or 18th century has experienced several hardships. They always been pressured to conform to society's expectations. Pride and Prejudice has also some characters who suffers a lot, either about marriage or class mobility. So time was there when women were relieved at the house to take care of the household, but they have the power to express themselves in front of the whole world and be educated, and the most important of all, they can live without restrictions.
Where there are interesting facts in the novel, we have noticed some flaws too. The first flaw that we have noticed is Jane Austen has used multiple characters in the novel. One person is connected with multiple people, which confuses the reader that who is connected to whom.
The second flaw, according to us, is the unnecessary rebellion of Lydia. This set a wrong example to the reader. If they want to live their life on their own wish, they can do it by taking only this awful step.
We want to end our presentation with this quote that pride is the thing that costs you everything but leaves you with nothing. Thank you so much.